Recently, Golfing Focus was hugely lucky to spend some time with the #1 recommended golf coach on Skillest, one of Golf Monthly magazine's top 50 UK coaches, Andy Little, and get 3 of his top tips for increasing your power off the tee. No matter what myths you hear about the short game being more important than the long game, increasing your driving distance is critical to improving your scores. So let's dive straight into the simple tips Andy tested out on me to help me increase club head speed and therefore gain a little more distance off the tee. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today our golfing focus is on distance and specifically power, and we're hugely lucky to have Andy Little with us here today, who is the #1 recommended coach on Skillest and a Golf Monthly magazine top 50 coach. Andy, huge thanks for coming to join us today. I've managed to get a bit of distance recently through a fitting and changing my angle of attack, but you have 3 specific tips for us on power, which you think could help us and get a bit more distance.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us on the channel to start with. And yeah, I want to show everyone and hopefully give you a little bit more speed in your club head through 3 different techniques. The 3 techniques is really where we need to experiment. We need to also find out whether the difference between the distance and the speed that we get reduces the accuracy too much. So there's that fine balancing act between doing different techniques to try to gain a bit of speed versus obviously keeping the ball on the fairway and in play. So for anyone that's going to potentially try these things, it's sort of like you've got to make sure that you are comfortable with the dispersion pattern. If the dispersion pattern gets too wide and you're hitting it too far left and too far right, it's not worth the change. But it's one of these things you just need to experiment first. So we'll try the 3 techniques out today, see if it gives you any extra benefit. And if people are at home or watching this are going to try it, they need to try it on the driving range or a simulator first before stepping onto the first tee with it.
And we're talking about speed, we're talking about club speed. Because in terms, the more speed you have, the more chance you have of hitting it. It's not guaranteed, nothing is in golf as we know, but the more speed you have, the more chance you have of hitting it.
Definitely, and it's one of these things when there's so much talk about trying to gain club head speed, you need to live in that sort of higher range of club head speed to raise your base level. So doing speed training, doing speed sessions has to happen as part of a consistent process rather than just saying, right, I'm gonna increase my club head speed and expecting to gain 5-10 miles an hour and then feeling that you're going to keep that 5-10 miles an hour. It needs to be a consistent process.
So you're going to see if we can get me above 102, anything like that.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
No guarantees, nothing is in golf, but hopefully the muscles are working this morning.
Yes.
We can get cracking, and please stay tuned. We're going to give you sort of links to Andy and a code that you can use for a discount for him later on. But let's get cracking. I'll be the model today.
Okay.
And get into the 3 tips. Right, okay, so I'm going to try and get a baseline here, and then we'll see what we're starting with. Don't laugh, Andy, when I hit this.
No.
First one of the day.
Just trying to hit the screen.
Wasn't a great hit, but it went.
Okay, so definitely feel that the 3rd tip is going to give us the most potential speed, but just to sort of give you a couple of ideas, one to do with your hands. And the idea behind it is if I can reduce resistance, it will be easier for my hands to pick up more speed, and therefore the club would generate that more speed. So just to put that into context, if I was a ballerina and I had my arms out sort of quite wide, as I'm rotating, there is obviously more resistance as I'm trying to rotate around myself.
Okay.
If I put my arms above me, there is no resistance, so therefore I can rotate a lot faster.
Okay.
In the golf content, we are obviously taught and we are trying to feel that our trail arm structure and the position of our hands at the top of the backswing is very important. We talk a lot about getting the lead arm covering the sort of the trail shoulder. One of the techniques that you see a lot of the long drive guys do is they're actually a lot more vertical with their arms, working more up and down. And that can therefore help to generate more whip through the swing. So tip number 1 is not to maybe get your arms wide and further away from you. It's actually to get your hands a lot higher. So you'll find you're trying to actually feel that your hands are working on a more vertical plane up and down, so less resistance. So therefore, as you swing down and through, it will hopefully translate to more club head speed. So rather than the conventional rotating around yourself, getting a good structure at the top of the backswing with your arms in front of the chest, it's actually to be a little bit more vertical. Now you can even add a little extra, which is generating another lever. We obviously use the release of the wrists.
Okay.
But if I actually allow my lead arm to sort of soften and to slightly bend, again, a very common thing you see in long drive guys, it adds another component to then generate that club head speed.
Okay.
So if you look at someone like Jason Zuckerberg, he ends up sort of like here at the top of his backswing because A, he's got to unload this to generate a bit more speed and then unload the wrists, but he's very vertical. So we're going to try and get you hit a few shots. So rather than your conventional rotation to get that structure, I want you to feel that you are working on a more vertical plane to get that more speed.
Okay.
So just do your normal backswing for me. Don't actually hit this one for me, Graham, but just do your normal backswing and just sort of hold yourself at the top of your backswing. So we would see you here, and quite comfortably, we sort of lead arm covers sort of right shoulder, and arm structure and hand structure is sort of over here. What I want you to feel, bring that back to the beginning. So again, it's one of these ones that we're just going to experiment. The feeling is you're going to try to get very high with your hands here. Getting your hands high away from the golf ball can then hopefully generate more downward force as you go down and through to generate more speed. So just do that a couple of times. Imagine I'm just going to sort of stand behind you, so you're not going to hit me. Going up. So you're feeling as high as you can, and therefore you're going to have less resistance rather than the rotational sense.
Okay, and this is key. This is just the experiment. Just try it.
It might work. All these power tips it's one of these ones where ideally you want one out of the three that just to connect, but all three have merit in terms of gaining club head speed. It's whether the speed that you gain and it works with your swing, but also though that dispersion pattern. So as much as we want loads more power, we obviously still need to be playable on the golf course because we're not sort of entering long drive championships.
Yeah. So it's that.
It's as high as you can, and allowing that left arm to be soft again really goes against the traditional coaching, but from a power perspective, these are things that work.
Okay, so we're 99.84. Let's see how we get on.
So we're not worried about where the ball goes, just worried about the speed.
Okay.
Okay. Just try one more, and I'll just stand out the camera. But I'd probably use the same ball, Graham, for me.
Yeah. No worries.
Again, just so it keeps everything exactly the same.
Keeps the same.
Okay, so up to 100 now.
Okay.
So just try one more, and then I'll explain the tip number 2.
Okay. Go on, let's get 101. Come on.
So do a little practice move. So as high as you can. That's it. Love that.
That's better. Okay. High. Do you stand taller or?
No. Really. I feel like you still want to be in balance. Obviously, the posture is important to the consistency. That's it. That's the good feel.
Okay.
Okay. See what? Oh,
come on! Come on!
Oh, it's quite a nice distance. 9.
Oh,
not quite.
Not quite.
It'll take some time. So, and when people are trying to gain more speed, it's not a 5-minute practice session. It needs to be a full 45, 100 balls, an hour session going for speed, and that speed will slowly but surely increase.
Okay, and you wouldn't worry about any of the other.
No.
Distance,
obviously, like
if ball speed.
If we're going for pure speed, then it's just club speed that we're interested in. When we're able to see club speed, we don't really need to worry about the ball speed or the efficiency or the other numbers. Yes, there are guidelines that we want. Yes, to gain more distance.
Okay.
Then I want a good smash factor or efficiency. Yes, to gain good distance on my shot, I need to have a good positive angle of attack. And therefore I need a good amount of ball speed. But if I'm purely just trying to swing this faster, then the other numbers are fairly irrelevant. If you're looking for more distance of your shot, then yes, you've got to take the other factors in consideration. And obviously things like how closed or open the face is going to dictate how much your ball rolls, and obviously the direction that it goes, etc. So what we're trying to achieve today is just ultimately just club speed. Tip number 2 is movement, mass, how we move pressure through the swing. And again, traditional coaching, we will be told that we balance ourselves in our address position and we work up to the top of the backswing and we really quite resist with the lower half. So there's not a lot of movement, definitely from a feet perspective. But if you look at back in the day when they were sort of wearing quite sort of tight fitted clothing, there was a lot of movement in the lower half because they didn't have their range of motion. Now again, if you're a golfer that doesn't have great flexibility, this will actually maybe benefit them in general, because what I'm going to ask you to do is with your lead leg to actually feel that it's moving off the ground as you are rotating in the backswing. Okay. The benefit of this is it will move pressure into your trail side. There is not a long drive guy out there that is not massively loading into their trail side and then obviously transferring that energy back into their lead side. It's not a case of transferring into the trail side and then keeping it there, because you're not then going to be able to use it. But there is not a guy that swings powerfully that is basically stuck on their lead side, because all the energy, in theory, is in front of the golf ball.
So will the pros PGA pros be doing that as well?
The pros will be loading. So this is where there's that fine difference between, you see a couple of guys, if you look at someone like Jack Nicklaus, obviously he famously lifted his left heel, and then obviously, anyone that goes to a lesson that's trying to increase their accuracy is then told to stay very stable with their lower half, keeps them flexing the right knee, which is important, but really keeping the feet in the same place. Movement of that lead foot is absolutely fine. And even when we start talking about the downswing, it will actually have a benefit, because then I can actually replant and get the pressure moving in the right direction, which is come on to point number 3 a little bit later in the video. But even having a finished position where that lead foot is sort of moving around is completely fine. It's very much from a backswing perspective, if we can get mass over onto our trail side a little bit more, then you've got more mass to then swing through the golf ball to generate some bit more clubhead speed. Okay. So I want you just to feel a couple of swings, just feeling that lead heel just coming off the floor, really getting you behind the golf ball. Again, this is where we've got to have that fine balance, because moving away could make it harder to be consistent on your delivery. Right. So if we're losing efficiency, it may not be the one for you, but it hopefully will increase a bit more power in here.
Right, okay. Let's see if I can
get just do a couple of little practice swings first. Actually, probably just feeling that you're.
It's a test of how good a student I am, and
so just feel that lead heel is just free to move up. So you should feel like you're really. So just do that one more time. You really feel like you're really loaded behind all the pressures there. And then as you then transfer down, it then allows you to sort of, in theory, slam your lead foot back to the ground, which therefore gives you that.
So I'm just going to try this without the ball for a second. So it's load up.
But traditional coaching, again, you're losing your balance is completely fine. Traditional coaching will be like, you've got to stay stable, you need to stay very centered, you need to have less lateral. Obviously there is lateral in the golf swing, but this is like, you can really get behind the golf ball, you can really drive through the golf ball. And again, if the goal is speed, then this is the technique that's going to help you.
Try. And just like gaining speed in general, just help, because you're never always going at maximum speed, but as in if your body gets used to swinging faster, which these things, one of the or all of them can help with, then that's just going to naturally, hopefully, get you a bit more speed.
It is. It takes a bit of time. You need to live in a higher ball speed or a higher club speed, should I say, to then actually get the benefit on the golf course. Your maximum speed on a drive range in a simulator is not going to be your maximum on a golf course, because there's obviously, we've got to keep it within a few sort of certain parameters, and we've got to be not taking a 3 off the tee scenario. Right.
Okay.
I want 2 swings out of you, Graham. I want to see that lead heel nicely lifting off, shifting pressure into your right side. Ooh. Again, the goal is speed, so we're not worried about the fact you've got a horrible second shot coming up. But there we go. We've got into the, there you go. 101.
Wow.
So that was a quick 2 mile an hour.
And that felt, but that's just, already.
So, but even looking at the data, yes, your efficiency was slightly down. But obviously on that particular shot, it would have been club face. The club face would have been too close, etc. But that's not the goal. We're not worried.
This is one that's going to potentially give me.
I would say that tip number 2's got more chance than say tip number 1. Number 1 may suit some people, but I think a nice shift of pressure really helps.
Okay.
So just let it go.
Don't worry where it goes. Let it go.
Oh, not quite. Oh. I've cheated. I've seen it on the GC3 before it comes up on the screen. But it's okay, right? We're into the 101s. So hopefully my last tip's gonna crack the 102 maybe.
So just before we go on to the third one, and just keep watching, because there's a little trick with a chair Andy's going to show us. And in terms of people to find you, the where you are, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so social media wise, all my username is exactly the same, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, it's all Golf PGA. And in terms of, that's probably the best way to then find my online coaching, because all the links are on there. But if you download the Skillest app and then search Andy Little, you'll see my profile. And as a thank you really for watching the video today. If you was interested in any form of online coaching, use the code POWER and you would have 50% off any package that you decide if you want to have a lesson with my good self.
Awesome. Do it. Check Andy out. And number 3?
Number 3 is probably the one that I feel I use a lot more in my own swing, and it's the sort of the vertical jump. It's what we are doing through impact using the ground reaction forces. Now, I know there's obviously a lot of talk on sort of social media and online about how to use the ground correctly. I want to keep it really simple for the viewers at home.
Yeah.
If I told you to jump really high, you have to squat down before you then jump up. Yeah. You would not jump very high if there was no integration or interaction with the ground. So if I'm going to try and jump really high with no use of the ground, you're not going to get very high. So if I crouch down and then jump up, I can then use the ground more efficiently. So where that is then translated to the golf swing is really from the top of the backswing, actually feeling a slight squat. And again, you'll see a lot of even tall players, there's that little dip of their head coming in that first phase. But then really it's the vertical jump that will then generate the extra speed that we're after. You know, to put it very simply, and then this gets used quite a lot. If I just hold the grip and do nothing, I'm just going to let it sort of fall from its position. So if I just let it drop, it sort of swings to near the opposite side. But if I hold the grip and just raise it at the right sort of time, just watch where the grip ends up. So if I just sort of feel that I'm just going to lift the grip up as the right sort of time, then you can see the extra sort of power that you got from that sort of swing. So the feeling is, rather than just coming into the impact and not using that sort of ground, it's feeling that you're sort of slightly dipping, but really exploding up. And this is why the long drive guys are all over the place.
That's a big, I'm just looking at that. That's a McIlroy does that a lot, doesn't he?
Yes, so a lot of them are really sort of squatting down, and then it's then to use that sort of ground reaction force.
And does that help with getting your angle of attack up
as well? It definitely helps, because obviously one thing with angle of attack, which I'll come on to, like today I've purposely put the biggest tee that we've got in the studio here. You need a big tee to get the launch, to get the right sort of conditions. Obviously, I think some people, they're sort of maybe the average golfer, especially if someone slices it, they would look at that tee and be really scared. And that's quite often because their angle of attack is too steep, and they're going to get right underneath the golf ball and they'll just pop it up in the air. So a high tee is important, because as much as I'm going to shift pressure into my lead side and really jump off my lead side, I'm not getting in front of the golf ball. And that's where I think a lot of people go slightly wrong, is they get to the top of the backswing, know they need to load into their lead side coming down and then get too far in front of it, and then they start hitting down on the golf ball. So a high tee is definitely what you need to try to achieve this, but you need to feel that you are, as much as pressure is moving forward, my mass, so my upper body, is sort of staying more behind the golf ball. Now you're okay, Graham, because your angle of attack is nice and positive, so you are getting that club in front of the head, or I always refer to the club head beating the head back to the golf ball. A lot of people that slice it will get their head back in line with the golf ball and then their club head second. So the feeling of trying to feel that you're pushing to then push up. So you really want to feel that lead leg is extending up, but it's a slight squat and then ultimately just a jump. And if you can get that at the right time, if you get that extension, then it will then transfer that energy in time.
So it's up to the top and then a little squat.
It's up to the top, a little push down, so pressure back. And again, this is why tip 2 sort of links quite nicely. Because if you let the lead heel come off, obviously you need to plant it to then start that downswing process. So that little lift can actually give you that squat. And then you want to feel that you are really trying to extend up through, because you push, you will then be pushed back. And then that's going to transfer the energy.
And can you just show us one? Because you'll demonstrate.
So if we go for one for complete power in terms of club head speed, and again, I'm a bit like Graham in terms of normal speed. I'm around sort of high 90s. If I can get into 3 numbers, I'll be quite pleased. But this here's just an exaggerated sort of vertical jump, as we would call it. Oh, there you go. I beat you already, Graham.
We'll cut that. We'll cut that. We're not sure.
But if I maybe just do one more, just to see, just to exaggerate the move. So I'm going to really try to feel that my lead leg is like literally like leaving the ground as I try and hit it. So just trying to feel top of the backswing, push, and then jump out of the way, basically. There you go. So I literally was off the floor at impact. And then you can see the club speed. Like, I had no control over the shot, but we're now close to sort of 104.
So I'm going to try that out. No way I'll do as well as that. But
to be fair, Graham, there was a moment in that impact I thought I was going to face plant, actually. So we're quite pleased with staying on 2 legs then.
But and if you can marry that with 2, then you're that's where a bit of gold is.
Those 2, I think, would really benefit. I think number 1 is valid. I think it's maybe a little bit harder. I think 2 and 3 are a lot easier to practice, and because you're shifting pressure, I think you can get the extra benefit a bit more.
So it's up. That.
Yeah, so you really want to feel, even without a club for it, if you put the club down for a second, Graham, just feel that you're pushing down and then pushing up.
Okay.
And then you're not worried about, so obviously all you're trying to, your worry will obviously be getting the low point of the arc at the right point. Because if you go down too much, obviously the low point of your swing arc is going to be in the ground. It's making sure that you are extending up through the shot as well.
Okay. I'm pretty certain we're going to be using Andy's stats for this one, but we'll try. We'll give it a shot. And this is it. You just got to try it.
Just do it like your finished position and take the ball away, Graham, and then you can have the shot on the screen.
I will do that.
Okay. So that's where you got the squat, but you didn't get the jump. So that's why I was talking about the low point. That's why you hit the ground first.
Okay.
So it's like one of these things, all these need to be tried, these need to be
tested.
Also practiced in a not golf course environment. Driving range simulator, net at home.
But this is the thing about power, isn't it? Is you've got to have a goal, you've got to get a bit out your head of worrying where it goes for a while.
Yeah.
If you really want to get some speed, you've got to get that At your head.
You've got to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So you've got to experience and increase club head speed. You've got to do something you're not doing at the moment.
Yeah.
If you can, all the strength training in the gym and things like the stack system or super speed sticks are a benefit. But if you're not translating the training you're doing away from your golf swing and then not putting it into your golf swing, you're not going to get the extra benefit.
So if you did speed training like with the stat and then you added stuff like this, it's a double
whammy,
benefit.
yeah. And yeah, don't get me wrong, obviously things like lifting weights in the gym, getting stronger, getting a better range of motion and flexibility, there are other components. The more physically fit you are, the more, again, you're giving yourself the opportunity for speed. It's not a guarantee, but like, if you really want to get speed training sessions, standing here, smashing it as hard as you can, some sort of speed training protocol, super speed stick, the stack system come to mind as the two that I would say that are the leader in terms of the market. And then things in the gym, like you can't go wrong in terms of lifting weights,
which is just good for you anyway.
Which is just good for your overall health anyway. So
yeah, okay,
right.
And Andy has a trick for the office chair which you can try in the office as well, which is good for this one. And I'm trying to see if I can do a better job this time.
Okay, so you need a bit more of a jump. Oh, it's not quite getting the jump.
I'm going to have one more. I hit the fairway this time.
Yeah. That'll be a long second. Oh, we didn't pick up the club speed. Oh, there we go. That was the fastest one. That was the fastest one of the day, surely.
So fast. It's like
so fast. The monitor.
The metrics aren't there. Okay, so my problem is coming back up.
Yeah, you're squatting down nicely.
Yeah.
But you're not getting up in time.
So down and back up. Okay. Come on.
Well, it was a better effort. Did we get? Oh, that is definitely going to be your last shot of the day, Graham.
Come on, have we done it? Oh! Look at that.
103.
Perfect. Couldn't have done anything.
Which, to be fair, in a very short amount of time, and the amount of small shots that you've hit. Speed. If I'm doing a speed training session, I'm out here for 45 minutes, sweating, hitting 75 shots to try to increase the speed. So the fact that you've done it quite quickly is a great benefit.
Okay. Wow. There you go. So the Andy has one little trick here which we're going to try for this one for the office with an office chair.
Yep.
Where you can try to get this sort of squat and up motion. So let's just go. We're not going to do it in the floor here. We tried it a little bit as a prep and the carpet. It doesn't quite work. So we're just going to go over.
So if you've watched any of the TPI stuff on YouTube, I know he's done a few sort of YouTube videos with a few other creators. What we're talking about in the last tip is obviously using ground reaction forces and what your lead leg does and how we should be pushing to get the opposite reaction. So if I feel like I'm trying to push away from myself, it will actually give me the opposite reaction to push me back. We haven't spoken a lot about rotation because we was going for more power, but this is definitely something you can do in the office. So if I keep my trail foot up in the air and just use my lead foot, what you are trying to achieve is as much distance as you can get, but also a little bit of rotation. So I can obviously just push backwards, but in a golfing sense, that's not going to give me the extra benefit of rotation. So what you've got to try to achieve is how am I going to move and how will I push to get the rotation. So I'm not going to maybe push in a 12 o'clock direction. I may want to be pushing at like a 10:30 direction. Now, one thing that you could do to help you with your golf swing is in your address position, just actually flare your foot open just to make life easier for your rotation. So if I stood here and tried to push and get a little bit of rotation, that's going to help you to open up coming into impact. You need to push in the ground to get the benefit of the transfer of energy to the club head. But if you can feel that you are pushing and slightly rotating, that will help you to clear your hips coming into the impact. So this is definitely something you can do. We tried it on the mat and it didn't, so the friction was too much, but on a nice sort of easy tiled flooring, I can push and then get a little bit of rotation. And if I took that into my golf game and felt that I was trying to push, that's going to help me to clear my lead leg.
Awesome. So Andy, thanks for that. Just again, put all the links in the description to find Andy. There's a code POWER to get 50% off. It's a fantastic deal. As I say, Andy's the #1 recommended coach on Skillest. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this, please hit that like button. You know what to do with those boxes on the screen. And as ever, and most importantly, we hope you're enjoying your golf.